Not a full all right. All right. Enough fun and games. Enough fun and games. Let's get into this. Let's get into this first video. All right. Let's get into this first video that I don't know who the person is per se, but it was he did a breakdown of why there were like, so quick recap, right? And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a bipartisan, and whenever I hear bipartisan, I get nervous, right? I really get nervous at bipartisan, but there was a bipartisan continuing resolution bill approved, and it was 1,500 pages. Yes, 1,500 pages. All right. How many people think that the 535 Congress people and the 100 senators, how many of you guys actually think they read those 1,500 pages, right? But Vivek Ramaswamy, he read it and he was like, what the hell is this? And then Elon Musk was like, I don't know about this. And then now people started to read it. Like, oh, no. So that's the backdrop. And then Trump just stepped in. He's like, nope, not happening. And then now the Congress went into a frenzy on like 2 days ago. So I want to watch this video that breaks down what happened. Not saying one side. It's 435. Yes, 435 House of Representatives and 100 senators. Thank you, Wealth Building. Thank you. All right, but let's watch this real quick. And well, it might not be quick. It's about 8 minutes, and then we will go from there. Right. So where is it? There we go. All right. So Elon Musk shared this video, and I wanted to watch
Congress failed to pass a budget bill, and it looks like we might be heading for a government shutdown. And in large part, this is due to the influence of Elon Musk. Now, depending on how you feel about Elon, you might view this as a positive or a negative thing. And in this video, I'm going to give you comprehensive context on what exactly is going on. And I'm also going to offer you my perspective on the influence of Elon, billionaires more generally, and the legislative process. First, here are the facts. Every year, Congress has from about February until October 1st to pass a bill for the following year. So this year in 2024, they were forming the budget for 2025. However, if they miss that October 1st deadline, then they form what's called a CR bill, or continuing resolution bill. That bill is meant to be a temporary measure that maintains the prior year's levels of funding in order to prevent a government shutdown. And they need to pass that bill before December 20th, when all the Congress people go home for Christmas, in order to ensure that the government doesn't shut down. Now,
so other than the wealth building journey, how many people knew about the process of how the CR gets created? If Congress does not do their job between February and October of passing a spending bill, then they do a continuing resolution. So they don't do any work from February to October, and then from October to December 20th, they run like chickens with their head cut off to try to get this CR passed. So I didn't know that's how CRs came about. I always heard CR, and I never really knew the process. So I am learning from a guy who looks like he has a tie wrapped around his head. So that was the first thing that I thought. I'm like, wow, this is pretty interesting. From a guy who looks like he's in the middle of the woods with a tie wrapped around his head. I'm like, I feel like I should have known this. All right, let's keep going.
The concept of a government shutdown sounds bad, but it's pretty common. There have been 21 government shutdowns in the last 50 years. And even during a government shutdown, essential services are still maintained, like the operation of our military or Social Security. So in this case, the CR bill typically would have just mimicked 2024 levels of funding for 2025. However, there's several things that make this year unique. First is its length. It's 1,547 pages long, and only 8 of them are actually CR bill. The rest of it is about supplemental funding and legislation. The second thing is that rather than just maintaining 2024 levels of funding, there's actually $100 billion extra allocated to this CR bill. Most of that $100 billion is for disaster relief, and that $100 billion constitutes a 6% increase over 2024's budget. Now, you might not have any issues with that, but what's raising hackles is the fact that most Congress people had less than 24 hours to read the entire 1,500-page bill. Most Congress people were given the bill on December 17th and expected to vote on it less than 24 hours later on December 18th. This is because both Democratic and Republican leadership in the House formed the bill, but that process wasn't transparent to the rest of the Congresspeople. On top of all that, there were specific provisions in the bill that many people objected to, like, for example, the fact that it gave a pay increase to members of Congress. Now, it's worth noting that the pay increase is relatively modest, around 3%, and it's a cost of living increase. That said, many people objected to the fact that Congresspeople would be giving themselves a pay increase at all, given the state of the country and the fact that many people are struggling to get their bills paid. There's also the fact that the bill would allow Congresspeople to be exempt from Obamacare, even though the average American is not. Or the fact that the bill allocates funding for the Global Engagement Center, which many people have critiqued.
So just to add in, so they wanted to get a pay increase for the work that they did between October to the last minute of December 20th. I mean, they could have worked that pay increase in there from between February and October at a regular spending bill. I'm just saying, and I don't know, like they always find a way not to suffer like the rest of us are suffering. So, anyways,
as a propaganda instrument and censorship instrument that has been used against the American people, and now is getting even more funding. Now, I think it's fair to say that under normal circumstances, the vast majority of Americans would not have any idea what a CR bill is, or the fact that it's being passed, or the fact that it's 1,500 pages and Congresspeople are given less than 24 hours to read it. But what's unprecedented about this is that Elon Musk heard about it and started posting a lot about the whole situation on X. Because Elon has such a huge following, that caused many people to get into an uproar. And it caused many people to start pressuring their congresspeople and calling their congresspeople to have the CR bill not passed. And for the record, I called Representative Mike Johnson, who is the leader of the Republicans in the House, to express my personal disapproval for the manner in which the CR bill is being passed. And if you feel the same, I recommend that you take action by calling his office too. What Elon and many people were objecting to is the manner in which the CR bill was being passed, the contents of the CR bill, and the timeline for the CR bill being passed as well. And the CR bill did have bipartisan support from leadership of the Democrats and the Republican Party. Now, that leadership has argued that this is a bipartisan bill, and the $100 billion extra is needed for disaster relief that the American people have wanted for months. But I would argue, if that's the case, pass disaster relief as a separate bill, rather than making it part of a 1,500-page behemoth that none of you are even actually reading. And regardless, this is just a fundamentally broken process. We have politicians using money that is not theirs to give themselves pay raises and paying for things that they haven't even read using our money on things that we can't afford. Now, some people have objected to Elon Musk's influence, particularly Democrats, and to that I'd respond with three things. One, on the partisan angle, there's actually a 2-to-1 ratio of Democratic donors to Republican donors who are billionaires. In fact, in the 2024 election, the Kamala campaign had $1 billion that they spent, whereas the Trump campaign had $400 million. But partisanship aside, Elon is actually quite unique in that we can actually see the influence that he's having in large part. Because in this particular case, his influence was simply using his voice and amplifying it to his large audience. And in reality, it was not just Elon saying that he opposes this, it was the people agreeing that they also oppose the CR process as well. Now, I think it's reasonable to be skeptical of anyone's influence, billionaire or not. And Elon certainly has a lot of influence, and some of it we can't see and is not transparent. But in this particular case, we can see exactly what he was standing for. And his individual voice only helped amplify the voices of millions of people who disagreed with this entire dysfunctional process. Now, on the flip side, do we get to see any of the influence of George Soros or Bill Gates or many of these Democratic mega donors or Republican mega donors for that matter on the democratic process? But all of that aside, I think this is actually a tremendously positive development for all of America. So many of us have become disillusioned with politics because we feel like politicians don't have our best interests in mind, and we feel like no matter who's in office, nothing seems to change. But what's changed this time is that we have a degree of transparency and a public square in X where we can actually speak up and we can actually be listened to if enough of us actually exercise our power as a people. I mean, look at what happened. Elon Musk lit his watchtower, and then the rest of us did as well. And
all right, I think that's good enough for now. Pretty much got the gist of why Elon Musk. I don't want to say stepped in, but he pretty much made people aware of what was being signed. And here's a question, right? Here's a question, and I'll go back to full. So here's a question about this whole spending bill thing. 1,500 pages, right? Would these Congress people, senators, House of representatives, would they sign anything else that they had no idea what it was. Like if it was if they were signing something that was like personal to them, would they just sign it without knowing what it is? It, but when like I don't know, I think that, or I hope that people make better decisions when it's their own money and their own life on the line, instead of when it's just like the public, like our money, So, um, and that's why for me, I'm always like skeptical about this whole government and bipartisan. I don't know when, like Wealthman Journey says, like, oh, they said bipartisan equals some type of something's not good. If they agree, something's not good, and and so now you have like these people getting upset that, oh, they just made us aware of what's going to be signed. The guy in the video said that it's the CR was about 10 pages or something like that, or 30 pages, whatever, however much it was, and then the whole rest was a bunch of other stuff that had nothing to do with it. So they could have passed like a 10-page document from the beginning and called it a day, but no, right? So with that being said, at the last minute yesterday, the House of Representatives, they agreed on a continuing resolution which they figured out between October and December 20th at the last minute. So we're gonna go watch this video real quick now, like 2 videos about the whole process, and then we're going to go to the chat, and then we're gonna move on with our regularly scheduled program. All right, so we have
Congress failed to pass a budget bill.
that. We have so this is Yakar's favorite person. The person he's calling to be fired, Mike Johnson, speaking after the House passes the interim spending bill. And that's what they do every year. It's like they never really pass a spending bill. They just continue to do a continuing resolution over and over and over again, right? But let's take a quick watch. It's about 2 minutes.
Priority for us. This is America First legislation because it allows us to be set up to deliver for the American people. In January, we will make a sea change in Washington. President Trump will return to D.C. and to the White House, and we will have Republican control of the Senate and the House. Things are going to be very different around here. This was a necessary step to bridge the gap, to put us into that moment where we can put our fingerprints on the final decisions on spending for 2025. We also, in this bill, as you know, took care of Americans who desperately needed and deserved the assistance. We had a record hurricane season. Hurricanes Helene and Milton, in particular, did dramatic damage across at least 6 states: the Carolinas, Virginia, from Florida, Tennessee, all the way through. And they have been waiting for the federal government to assist. We did that tonight in this bill. We also took care of our farmers, many of whom are on the brink of collapse because of Bidenomics, frankly, because the inflationary cost of their inputs and the inability they have right now to get loans from the banks and the lenders to put their crops in the ground, to put the seeds in the ground in the spring. So we had to take care of that, and we did. We are excited about this outcome tonight. We're grateful that everyone stood together to do the right thing. And having gotten this done now as the last order of business for the year, we are set up for a big and important new start in January. We can't wait to get to that point. We encourage swift passage in the Senate now. They need to do their job as the House just did. We will all go home. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year, because I hope not to see you until we get back after that. I was in constant contact with President Trump throughout this process, spoke with him most recently about 45 minutes ago. He knew exactly what we were doing and why, and this is a good outcome for the country. I think he certainly is happy about this outcome as well. Elon Musk and I talked within about an hour ago, and we talked about the extraordinary challenges of this job. And I said, hey, you want to be Speaker of the House? I don't know. He said, this may be the hardest job in the world. I think it is. But we're going to get through this. We are going to unify this country, and we are going to bring the America First agenda to the people beginning in January. We cannot wait to get started. I hope you all have a great holiday.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to...
All right, now we're going to check out Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee, I believe. I think he's from Tennessee, and he is talking about how he feels about this whole thing, all right? And you know, he gets pretty emotional. He gets pretty emotional on this, all right? So let's take a watch.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. I did my usual video as I left the House floor, but it was terrible and I wasn't prepared, didn't have a lot of the great details in it I wanted to give y'all. I voted against it. We said we were going to do separate bills. That's what everybody wanted. Dadgum, of course, we didn't do it. We loaded it all up together. There was 5.7 billion in there for submarines. There was $100 million for the Coast Guard. Not sure what that was in there. There was the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Remember the bridge in Maryland got hit by a barge, and the barge was insured, but still it doesn't make sense. Why are we putting money in that? It doesn't make any sense to me. And of course the $100 million in there for disaster relief. Where did they come up with the $100 million figure? Those people are doing without. Granted, that's a lot of money, but we don't trust this administration with a nickel, and we're going to give them $100 billion to play with for 30 days. And the president just now gave a billion to Ecuador. But nobody's really sure what that's about. And another billion, of course, went to Ukraine without our input. So anyway, it's just
Ecuador? Where'd that come from? How did Ecuador get $1 million out of this? All right.
a CR. It's just a continuation of bad spending policies that Schumer and Pelosi. And the odd thing is, they got on the floor and said they were going to be against it. The Democrats were going to be against it. And a huge number voted for it. I'm not sure any of them even voted against it. And then, of course, all the Republicans jumped in. I just feel like we got played. It's just doesn't make any sense with them trashing it and then all voting for it. That makes you feel like something went wrong. Anyway, we'll keep fighting. The government stayed open. And hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. And all my Jewish buddies out there, hope y'all have a very happy Hanukkah.
Dang. That is the look. Let me go back real quick. That is the look of a defeated person right there. Oh my God. Like, he looks so depressed right there. He's like, I don't know. He looks so defeated. I feel bad. I actually feel bad for him. Mr. Representative Tim Burchett from Tennessee. Sorry, guys. Sorry, buddy. Sorry. All right. Last video where the Senate, they're talking about the Senate approving it at the very last minute. And then we'll move on with our lives, all right?
Breaking news tonight from Capitol Hill. Just a short time ago, the Senate approved a bill to avert a prolonged government shutdown and ensure government services will continue uninterrupted. Good evening. I'm Marcella Lee.
I'm Carla Chiquetto. This comes just hours after the House overwhelmingly voted to pass that measure with wide bipartisan support.
CBS 8's Elizabeth Sanchez talked with local representatives in Washington who are very relieved tonight. Elizabeth?
Yeah, talk about a last-minute deal. And just after that midnight deadline passed, a spending bill that the House passed earlier. You know, it's not everything everyone wanted, and there was a give and take, but both local representatives I talked with say this stops a government shutdown that would have been costly.
The bill is passed.
With that, the House passed 366 to 34 in favor of a revised plan averting a government shutdown.
We are excited about this outcome tonight. We're grateful that everyone stood together to do the right thing. And having gotten this done now as the last order of business for the year, we are set up for a big and important new start in January.
The bill funds the federal government at current levels through March and includes $100 billion in disaster relief aid, about $10 billion for relief from California wildfires. Also included was $250 million to help fix the South Bay wastewater treatment plant.
We got the money that we needed to complete the project down in San Diego, in South San Diego, in the Tijuana River Valley. So we have now the full amount of money that we're supposed to have to complete the project down there, and I'm very excited about that.
Representative Juan Vargas says they will be pushing Mexico to complete the project on their side of the border to deal with the cross-border pollution. Meanwhile, raising the debt ceiling that President-elect Trump had pushed Congress for did not pass. Representative Mike Levin says the original bipartisan agreement had been negotiated for weeks by the House and Senate in good faith, but it was a give and take.
There was a lot of unnecessary drama since Tuesday. And, you know, ultimately the people that would have suffered most are active duty military, our Border Patrol agents, our air traffic controllers and TSA employees, because they would have been forced to work without pay over the holidays.
The Senate has been busy tonight, passing a number of different things. Once the Senate approves the spending bill, it still has to go to President Biden for a signature.
And I know, Elizabeth, a lot of people are wondering about pediatric cancer because that was cut.
All right, so that is the spending bill, the continuous resolution, passing the Senate. The House did something. When I hear 336 people agreed, I get worried. I'm like, all right, Somebody's getting a lot of money. Somebody's getting a lot of money, and it's not me, and it is not me. But they're going to go after all the PPP loan scammers, though, all right? Anyways, whatever. Let me check the chat, and then we're going to get to work, all right?
Yeah, men lying, women lying, numbers manipulate. Don't matter what no one say, I throw the stats away. No need for calculators, we already greater. No need to validate us. It's Tech Coach Ralph TV. Get up, it is Saturday morning. I've got to get my coffee cause I can't stop yawning. Get to watch my favorite show today. Men lie, women lie, numbers manipulate. Tech Coach Ralph and Mitch and Yakar, that's how it be. Shooting galaxies from their hands, it's Tech Coach Ralph TV. You don't need to grab your remote because you'll be floating free. Don't gotta worry about negative forces, it's positivity. Get up, it is Saturday morning. I've got to get my coffee cause I can't stop yawning. Get to watch my favorite show today. Men lie, women lie, numbers manipulate. Get up, it is Saturday morning. I've got to get my coffee cause I can't stop the yawning. But I get to watch my favorite show today. Men lie, women lie, numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Men lie, women lie. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Men lie, women lie. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Tech Coach Ralph and Mitch and Yakar, that's how it be. Shooting galaxies from their hands, it's Tech Coach Ralph TV. You don't need to grab your remote because you'll be floating free. Don't gotta worry about negative forces, it's positivity. Tech Coach Ralph and Mitch and Yakar, that's how it be. Shooting galaxies from their hands, it's Tech Coach Ralph TV. You don't need to grab your remote because you'll be floating free. Don't gotta worry about negative forces, it's positivity. Get up, it is Saturday morning. I've got to get my coffee cause I can't stop yawning. Get to watch my favorite show today. Men lie, women lie, numbers manipulate. Yeah, number manipulate. Yeah, numbers manipulate. Yeah, numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate.